GameDay Garage presents Campus Blitz with PJ Glasser and Ryan Horvat.
And then our last guest to join us is Bobby Schneider, talking Nebraska. Give Bobby a follow on at Bobby_Schneid. What's going on, Bobby? How you doing?
Doing well. How are you guys doing? It's an honor to be on here.
Yes, sir. We're excited to have you, Bobby. Look, man, I think Nebraska's fan base is the best in college sports. You guys are absolute freaks, man. It doesn't matter if it's football, volleyball, baseball. They show up, and they deserve better than what they've been getting the last few years. And I thought Matt Rule would be the guy. It feels like it's a make or break year for him, though, doesn't it, Bobby? Like if he goes like 6-6 this year, maybe even 7-5 again, you think there's a shot that maybe Nebraska's looking for a new coach?
I wouldn't say that. Nebraska has a lot of money invested in the Matt Rule. They extended him 2 years last year, of course, when that Penn State smoke was going around. And Nebraska does have Trey Taylor coming in, a 5-star quarterback, along with a top 20 recruiting class. So that'd be really tough to say. But I will say it's time to win. It's year 4. There's no excuses. And people always talk about the schedule. I mean, you're playing 3 of arguably the best teams in college football. You're playing the best college football season we've probably ever seen with Indiana, although it's a new team. Of course, Ohio State, Oregon, those are beasts. I mean, that's 3 national title contenders, let alone you got Washington coming to town. You've lost, I think, 10 of the last 11 to Iowa. Iowa's owned Nebraska. So there's 5 games right there. And then you got to go to Illinois. So on paper, it's brutal. It's a brutal schedule, but that's just the Big Ten. You got to win these games, and it's year 4 for Matt Rule. It's time to show some progress, and you brought in some transfers. You have, I believe, the 3rd oldest roster in the FBS of returning players on both sides of the ball as well.
Let's start with the offensive side of the ball. Dylan Raiola, that experience didn't, I guess, really work out. Me and PJ were really high on Nebraska, like he said, the last couple of years after the Matt Rule hire. Last year, there was 8 games, I believe, where they didn't even push past 350 total yards on the offensive side of the ball, and I think they won 2 of them. So let's start on offense. How do they fix that?
I mean, it started with the offensive line. I mean, you saw they go add 3 transfer portal guys, Brendan Black from Iowa State, Paul Mbenga from LSU, and then Tree Babalade from South Carolina. Jeep Wade has been raving about Gunnar Gatula, another guy returning. It sounds like they got 6 legit guys. All have had starting experience at the Power 4 level there. And then, of course, Justin Evans is the highest ranked returning center on PFF. He's projected to be a top, highly regarded draft pick next year. And then Elijah Pritchett, you kind of saw a little bit of his potential as the season progressed along. I mean, he was one of the lone bright spots in Nebraska's bowl game at left tackle. And it's a new scheme in a sense of how they're going to block. It's going to be, I mean, they're going to still run zone, but Jeep Wade coming over from Georgia Tech has been huge, I think, and that you'll see that this fall, installing some counter and stuff with that. And then, of course, now you got a mobile quarterback. It totally creates a different dynamic with Anthony Calandria. I mean, the dual threat quarterback is back at Nebraska, and you got the Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year coming.
The defense has been really solid under Matt Rule. Bobby, would you expect that again this year on that side of the ball?
Oh, that's the main question is what will this Rob Arich first year 4.25 look like at Nebraska? Allowing nearly 5 yards per carry was really Nebraska's kryptonite last year. I mean, even USC, there were several moments where they just pump off them 10-yard runs and stuff. They'd shut down the pass, but teams didn't have to throw the ball against Nebraska. And I think that kind of skewed the stat line is because teams could run down their throat. So you're really banking on some of these guys that have been in the program. Riley Van Poppel on the defensive tackle position. You got a couple of transfers like Jasir Whittington coming from Pitt. And then on the edge, you're hoping that you can kind of maybe get some pass rush there. The linebacker core and the defensive backfield, I mean, I think you feel pretty good about there, especially that linebacker core with Owen Chambliss, who was a first-team All-Mountain West coming over from San Diego State, 110 tackles too.
You look at the beginning, you brought up the schedule, man, but I mean, I'm looking at, they open with Ohio, Bowling Green, North Dakota, on the road against Michigan State and Maryland to start the season. Then it gets a little rough with Indiana on the road against Oregon, Washington, Illinois. What do you think, like a realistic, you said it's time to win. Do you think this team could win 8 games? What's the goal for the year?
I wouldn't even put a number on what's the goal. I think it's just win. I don't think that 7 wins is acceptable. Now, do I think if I were to predict Nebraska's record, I'd stay 7-5 because Matt Rule's 2-10 in November since taking the Nebraska job, and that's where it's most pivotal. Yeah, it sets up for Nebraska to be 5-0. I mean, Nebraska had a great start last year as well. Went up to Minnesota and laid an egg. So Yeah, you should be 5-0. You might have a chance against Indiana. You're coming to your house, but you've seen how that's derailed Nebraska's season. You go Indiana, Oregon, have a bye week. Washington comes to town, then you go to Illinois, and then you still go to Rutgers. I mean, Rutgers has arguably the best running back and one of the best receivers in the Big Ten, and Antoine Raymond and KJ Duff, and then Ohio State comes to town, and then you go to Iowa.
I wanted to bring that up. The Indiana game has to be the biggest on the schedule, only because, like, especially after the Matt Rule hire, it was Indiana's kind of what Nebraska was supposed to be, and it's like what we say in base, like, or in college basketball is better when North Carolina is good. You know what I mean? Like, we always do that. Baseball is better when this team's good. I feel like that's how everybody feels about Nebraska. So, how big is that Indiana game, and how shocked are you just how Cignetti turned that program around? Not even turned it around. I mean, they were never anything, and now they're national champions.
You got to give Cignetti his flowers, like him or not. That dude just wins. I mean, he develops talent. He doesn't need the 5 stars per se. He will take a guy that went up and proved that he was a productive player at a different school at a smaller level and has developed him. So you got to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I think you'll see the same with Josh Hoover and everything. But yeah, you got him at home. You'd hope that Nebraska kind of remembers that 56-7 loss, I believe is what it was, in 2024. But it's tough to say it's the most important game on the schedule, because you could argue like the Washington or the Iowa game is the most important, but you're going to have a lot of these big time recruits coming in for 2028 as well that are really looking at Nebraska. And how many more times can you sell like, hey, we haven't beaten a ranked opponent since 2016, but we're changing that. It's got to change at some point if Nebraska wants to find a way to have a sustainable success for the coming years, and have fans show up in the stadium as well.
Bobby, I was just going to bring that up. I mean, think about what you just said. Nebraska hasn't beaten a ranked team since 2016. Folks, it's been a decade since Nebraska's beaten it. That just like is impossible almost. You said you think they're going 7-5. I don't know, but Bobby, I kind of feel like this might be the year. I don't know who the team's going to be. Maybe they go on the road in Kinnick and beat Iowa. You get Washington travel into the Midwest. So far since joining the Big Ten, like, they haven't been great. None of those really West Coast teams outside of Oregon have been all that great making that trip. But do you think they finally beat a ranked team this year? And just like, what has been the common theme in all those games when they go up against ranked teams? Like, why can't they finish and just beat one of those teams?
You could make the argument for talent, but then again, you also see other teams that find a way. I mean, I think Wisconsin last year beat 2 ranked opponents under Luke Fickell, did not have a good year. Right. I think that Nebraska sometimes like just freaks out, and it was kind of similar with the 1-score losses. That was the main story when Matt Rule took over. Nebraska's kind of found a way to win some 1-score games or make some comebacks. That was kind of the story of last year. It wasn't pretty, but they found a way to win the Marylands, the Michigan States last year. This year, I think your best chance is probably Washington. You got them coming to Lincoln. It's going to be that big blackout. I'm sure a lot of you guys saw the USC blackout. The atmosphere was crazy last year. So that's probably your best bet. I'll be optimistic and say Nebraska finds a way, but I don't think it's going to be from the big 3. I'd say the most likely teams that would be ranked you could beat would be Illinois, Washington, or at Iowa.
I wanted to ask you about Dylan Raiola, actually, just because obviously, you covered him. And we saw Dante Moore, where he went to UCLA and kind of forced his way on the field as a true freshman. Didn't work out. And then he sat a year, which a lot of guys aren't going to do. Learn the Oregon system, and now there's a good chance he's the number 1 overall quarterback. I know Dylan Raiola got hurt, but he's going to sit now in that system. A little bit different of a system at Oregon. But do you think it could work out for him? I mean, he was so highly rated coming out of high school, or do you just not see it there?
I think it could work out, especially because Oregon is more built for the pocket passing quarterback. However, I mean, there's a reason I think that he was okay with redshirt, and he's got to learn how to get the ball out of his hands quicker. A lot of those sacks were not his fault or the offensive line's fault last year. You can't expect to have 5 to 7 seconds in the pocket on a consistent basis. I mean, that was half the reason. I mean, if you watch that Minnesota game last year, I believe half of those 9 sacks were because he sat in the pocket for 5+ seconds. But he does have the arm talent.
Great stuff. Bobby Schneider. Give him a follow on X at Bobby_Schneid. Covering Nebraska football there. And Bobby, wish you a great season, man. We really appreciate the time. And I just, I hope Nebraska can find a way to beat a ranked opponent this season, man.
Yeah, well, thank you guys so much. Best of luck. Hopefully it's a good college football season for all, and appreciate you having me on.
Yes,
Thanks, bro.
sir. Thank you, Bobby. 10 days, folks. 10 days away until week 0 of college football. So